Here we are. Hey, Martha. Hey, Deborah. How are you doing?
Great. It
Good.
is a beautiful sunny day, and we're on the cusp of a nice hot 80-degree week, so we are so excited.
The peonies are going to enjoy that, aren't they?
Yes, yeah. So you ready
I'm
for me
taking
to
a.
tour guide?
Sorry.
You ready for me to introduce our tour guide?
Yes, let's go ahead.
All right. So this is Debbie Champion, and her family operate Champion Farms, and they have peonies and hay. They're a member of the Alaska Peony Cooperative, and she has not cut anything yet. So she is in a little cool portion of Wasilla at the base of a mountain. She'll give you a nice tour of the mountain. And they're hoping to start harvesting this weekend, and shipping out next week. So we'll
Okay.
on to Deborah.
Hi, Deborah. So, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great today. Thank you.
Awesome. So, one of the things I always enjoy when I get to meet a flower farmer is sort of how you got into flower farming. How long have you been doing it, and how big is your farm? And wow, look at those fields back there. That's amazing.
Yes. Well, we started farming Timothy hay 30 years ago, um, just after we developed our home on our farm out here in Wasilla. We've been selling to locals around the area. And when we started going to farm tours around Alaska and seeing how passionate farmers were about their peony fields and hearing the stories, and we just figured that this is just something that we'd just like to develop and grow our farm and share a little piece of Champion peonies around the world and the lower 48. We grow beautiful large buds and just figured that we just want to share that with everyone. And the membership within our co-op and all of our members, the knowledge that we share and the support we give each other just helps us develop a better product for everyone.
That's great. I love that. It reminds me of that expression where iron sharpens iron, almost. Where especially when you get to all work together and support each other. That's awesome. How
Yeah,
long have you been growing peonies then?
we're in our fourth summer of growing peonies.
Okay,
And yes, we have 9 different cultivars.
amazing. And how much? So, how big is your farm?
Our farm's 40 acres.
And
We
then
have
you,
approximately, close to an acre of peonies. As you can see,
wow.
our rows are very spread out. They're 6 feet apart. Makes it very easy to work with wagons and, just get through with four-wheelers and easy maintenance.
Well, everything looks so incredibly clean.
Oh,
How wide are the rows?
the rows are 6 feet apart.
Okay, but I mean, how the actual row themselves, the plants?
The rows with the plants on them actually go about 58 inches apart from
Okay.
to edge. Okay.
So
Mhm.
normally people have to wait so many years before they can cut peonies. So have you been cutting for 4 years and producing, or did you just start planting your plants 4 years ago?
4 years ago, in the fall of 2016, we started planting our roots. It takes
Wow.
3 years before we actually will harvest a bud that went to the market for sale. So this is our fourth year and just plan to have true success on this harvest this year.
Yeah. I mean, it's so perfect. So what variety is that there behind you?
This variety right here is Festivus maximus,
Okay.
and they're a white cultivar with red tips. You're going to want to see white with just a hint of green on this. This is a one that you would harvest at hard. You want to just barely any give, but this would be a hard harvest. And then they would go into the chiller. So you can see partial white, a little bit of green. This has a little more growing to do before I will harvest it. So Festivus maximus.
So on that, that's interesting that you said that because I know being in wholesale for so long, we would get peonies all the time at different stages, and some, people would get and they'd say, "Oh, that'll never open." What are you looking for when you go to harvest? You said it gives a little bit. Is it where? What does that exactly mean? Or maybe I don't know if you can show us on another one, or maybe you should go back and
Well,
show us on that one.
today it was mentioned from one of our members that he described it as a very hard banana with just a little bit of give to it. So a green
Okay,
banana with a little bit of give. And that's about exactly the description for this harvest right there.
I see. Okay,
I
okay.
think that was really nice to hear from one of the farmers because that's a really good description for it.
Yeah. And then when you cut that, how long does it usually take from? I mean, I know that one's not quite ready yet, but how long does it usually take to for that flower to open from that stage?
Well, it should take about 2.5 to 3 days after we hydrate them out of the chiller. 2.5 to 3 days to open
Okay.
is our ultimate goal for the correct harvest.
Okay.
That way, it
Wow.
gives
Sorry.
people that opportunity to plan that event and give their flowers time to open for the day of their event.
Right. Right. Well, and I think there's a lot of flowers. I know one time I went to Holland and I was amazed at how tight they packed freesia. And then, of course, they continue to develop once they're in the box a little bit. And so when they get on our end, you actually see color. But when they put them in the box, there wasn't very much color. I think peonies kind of do that too in a way. And so when you normally want peonies for an event on a weekend, like a Friday or a Saturday, you're saying that maybe the best day to receive it is maybe Tuesday or Wednesday, to give it maybe Tuesday to be on the safe side. That way you have the 3 full days for them to open.
Correct. And if you have some different varieties, like I find the variety that I'm going to right now,
Uh-huh.
which is Red Charm, this may take an extra day to open because, and you'll see why, it's just because of the size of this is, in between a golf ball and a tennis ball size. So
Wow.
this may take an extra day to open and just, getting your package those days in advance gets you a little bit of practice with your flowers as well.
Sure, sure, sure. And you can help, make, you've got a cooler, you can cool them down, slow them down, or speed them up, take them out. So those look like they might even be ready to harvest there. Are they?
Yes, sir. They are very close to harvest. On this one, you can see that this is lifted from the bud right here. Got a little
Yeah.
air underneath there. How the color has changed on the sepal. I'm waiting for a little more color change on this side and a lift from this sepal, and
Uh-huh.
that will be harvested and in the chiller.
Okay, that's interesting. I didn't know that. So you actually are looking for color on those sepals to let you know, and of course a little bit of air to let. That's really interesting. I did not know that.
And this is just to this variety. Other varieties would harvest in another way.
Really? Okay, that's
Yeah.
interesting.
So this was the Red Charm variety.
Ah, what was the hot pink one that we saw back earlier?
The hot pink is the Kansas variety. And
Kansas.
we'll
Ah,
head right back over there. Now, Kansas is a harvest that I consider one of the hardest harvests because for the reason it is open somewhat like a tulip. So you think that, oh, this isn't going to hold in my chiller. But when these flowers open, they are so big and so gorgeous that they have to be so much open. So I have one that's really close to harvest stage right here. In fact, this one I'd probably put in my chiller after it had a little bit of the heat in the day. See how it's a little bit open on the top?
yeah,
And this one feels very soft. See, squishy, squishy,
yeah.
squishy. But on the base of this, I still feel a little firmness. So the big, gorgeous part of it will not open unless I have a little more softness on the base of this bud. And then I will harvest it. So I call that my scary harvest. But they're so gorgeous and so big and beautiful. This small bud will be as big as my hand. Once that
Amazing.
opens, it will be that size.
Well,
So
Kansas is definitely one of my favorites in that color family. The petal count, everything is just so dramatic on it, so beautiful.
yes,
Um, that's amazing. So, what other varieties do you grow?
well, we grow Boldenege, which is a yellow a white with a yellow center.
Uh huh.
Grow Marie Lemoyne. They are a white with a hint of yellow, large white. The Kansas. Then we have Sarah Bernhardt, which is pink and then fades to very light pink. Um, and I believe, and then our red charm. We do have some corals, coral variety. Oh, and our Paul Wild. We have some 1-year Paul Wild, adding a little more red and color to our bouquets.
Sure. What is the most popular color out of all the ones you grow?
I believe the charm variety, the red charm
Really?
and the charm would be the all-time favorites. Yes.
Fascinating. So
Hmm.
those plants, like, looks like one row over that aren't as full to your, maybe, is that to your right or your left? I don't know anymore. Yeah, right there. Are those, how old are those plants?
These plants are 3-year plants compared to the ones beyond them that are very full that are 4-year plants.
Amazing the difference 1 year makes.
Yes.
That is
Yep.
so crazy. So on a plant that's okay, so like you have a plant that's 3 years old, you can harvest something off of it. Do you get one stem, two stems? I'm just kind of curious what the difference is in a plant that's 4 years old and 3 years old.
Well, I believe the standard on a 3-year plant that you should really only take 30% of your stems. Um,
Okay.
Marketing that way you let the generate the root for your 4th year to have a larger harvest. So you do have to maintain the strength of your root by limiting how much you really take from the plant. The more foliage you take for your long stems is going to affect the health of your plant for the next year. So you always
Amazing.
have to think of how it needs to regenerate itself, give power back to that root to have a successful ongoing growing season.
Sure. So then on that so usually how many stems will you harvest then? It's interesting because I want to back up. I know that I've heard about not cutting everything on the third year. It's really fascinating to hear the 30% rule because I'd never heard that, and that's really informative. On the fourth year, then, do you feel comfortable cutting 100% of your stems, or do you still leave a few behind?
I have pruned them back by clipping buds off the top. So I've taken at least 30 to 40% of my buds off the top of my plants already to help out with that. And also they were small. We've had a chilly summer this year, and so those small ones are just taking away the energy from the root. So
Sure.
eliminate those small buds off the top to let these ones here get larger. This is the Marie Lemoyne, and they are a late harvest. So like the red charm, they're about to go. The
Right.
Kansas are next. The Festivas and Boldenage, and then the Sarahs and my Maries here will go last. So I have
Wow.
early, mid, and late harvesting or blooming flowers.
So how long is your actual cutting season?
Well, this year I think it's going to be extended. Um,
Okay.
it's the true climate of Alaska that we're having this year. And
Hmm.
so um, I really don't have a true answer for that because last year was so hot.
Oh, I
Um,
know.
I believe the process will take a couple weeks, and that's just a guesstimate
Right.
um, for our cooler time this year.
Sure. Well, I want to jump on and say if anyone has questions that's watching, feel free to just type them in. You can either hit the question box at the bottom of your Instagram screen or just type them in the feed. Either way, we'll find them. And I really, we love having questions and, of course, hearing your thoughts. So feel free to jump in if you're watching and share what you're thinking or what you want to know. This angle I can't see it as well, but on some of the angles it looks like your beds are raised. And I know Martha talked about that a little bit. I don't know how high are your beds typically?
Well, we started with them to be 12 to 14 inches raised from the grass area,
Uh huh.
but they have settled a little bit. I'd say average of 10 to 12 inches after they have settled.
Yeah. This is a good question. Someone's asking about irrigation systems,
Hmm.
and I want to know about that too because I know here we have issues all the way here in Georgia about we have heavy freezes, pipes cracking, and things like that. which, this may not be what they're asking about, but I'd love to hear more about your irrigation system and what do you have to do to protect it for the winter?
Okay, I'm going to take you down to this area. As you can see, we're going down an irrigation area right here. This is where I turn on my lines. I will run 10 lines at a time, opening
Mm-hmm.
them at each area. My lines run underneath my typar. The water comes out every 9 inches to water underneath the typar. The typar product does not weep, so nothing goes through the typar when it rains. So you really need to have your irrigation underneath your weed
Sure.
barrier if you can manage that. Now we have some headed down to the clean out area. We have 6 of these clean out areas. They will all lead to a low spot, much lower than any line that's feeding our water line. So my husband will start with the first 2 closer to our tanks by our flower shop, and our clean outs are here. As you can see, I have a key that I can put on here, and I can open this up, and this will totally drain at the low point all the water out of my system. We will eventually open every line and hook it up to air and air pressure everything right out of these lines. When we are sure
Wow.
that they are clear, and we'll do this, it might take, because you'll come back. Yeah,
Oh, you paused.
and
Maybe
just to make,
repeat that because the feed paused for a second. So you do it how often or you do it when?
it would probably take a 2-day process. We would start it one day, blow it out, let things settle, come back and blow it out with air another time, just to make sure, oh, there's still something dribbling out of there. Let's keep this air running for a little bit longer.
Sure, sure. And so then that allows the pipes to overwinter without any concern of them bursting or any kind of cracking and things.
Correct. And keep in mind, I have 6 of these locations. So it's not just the end of one line. It is
Sure.
6 different low points to where it can drain away from the system.
Wow.
So,
That's
and
amazing.
as you can see, it runs all the way down the rows. And then I connect to another direction. This way, I have rows running this way at the end. So my system tees off to another direction.
Yeah,
So,
that's amazing. That's so impressive. We have someone asking about feeding them and how do you do that and maybe when do you do that?
okay. We feed our plants in the spring, and we also feed them in the fall. We try and give every plant 4 ounces of fertilizer. The fertilizer would be recommended by the professionals after we have our soil tests taken.
Okay.
And the way I add them is pretty difficult because I get down to this hole and I add them underneath the typar like so and work my amendments into my soil. So we are working on a fertigation to where we run it through our system.
Mm-hmm.
Our fertilizers in a liquid form. We just haven't got to that stage yet. So I prefer to add my amendments that way right now because if it was any other way, I wouldn't have this typar and weeds would take me over.
Yeah.
So right now, that's our best plan for fertilizing and adding amendments.
Mm. So with the climate up there, and I know it varies because of, last year was so hot, this year is so perfect. How often do you feel like you have to water your plants? I mean, I don't know how, you guys have such long days right now. Does that play into it?
Right. Um, every day, every day, I water my plants. Try to give them a gallon of water every day. And so, yes, every day a gallon of water, especially
Wow.
when they're in bud cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Just want to make sure they get the moisture that they need, especially with the holes in the typar. We've had rain, but I don't think much gets through that little hole.
Right.
Yeah, so
Right.
daily. They get water
Right.
daily.
Now that makes sense because even the canopies of the plants, water is going to run off and then not fall into that hole. So that makes perfect sense. Now, once the blooming season's over, do you have? I mean, do you have to keep that up or do you taper that back?
I taper it back just a little bit, yes. And then, we're starting to get into our fall weather, and the rain will help us out just a little bit with that.
Sure. That's
Yeah.
fascinating. Let me see if there's any other questions real quick here. Um, yeah. Okay. So the first 2 years, do you pinch off the buds or do you just let them open and leave them?
That's a good question. And yes, the answer is yes. You would pinch off all the buds from the top of your plant. As soon as you see them developing, just get rid of them. Just like this. This is just pop it off the top, put it in your back.
Oh, that
Put it
seems
in your
so
back.
painful.
And yes, yes, sir, it is. Yes, it is. But in the long run, you will benefit with these beautiful, beautiful blooms.
I know. I didn't even think about this. And I don't know if it was Martha or Kelly that mentioned it. I think it was Kelly that said that she'll let one or two bloom just to make sure she got what she paid for in case that they sent the wrong variety or was the wrong color. Um, that's amazing. Yeah. They just pop right off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
you're
and yeah, it is a good thing to find out that you did get the right cultivar. So, yes.
that's amazing. So, you live on this property?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And that's amazing. So where I know you're in Wasilla, so you're not. How far are you from Kelly?
From Kelly, I'm about 25 minutes from Kelly.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's amazing how different your season is. You know how far behind hers it is. Um,
Yes,
just
she's kind of in the banana belt of Wasilla. She's got a really high elevation to where not really close to the mountains. We're at a high elevation as well, being near the mountains, but we're near Hatcher's Pass. Um, and the weather kind of hangs here when we do have different weather. So, yes, she's in a wonderful place, and it is quite different how she can have a different harvest time than I do just 20 miles away.
yeah, I mean it's crazy. So I think Martha mentioned that it would be interesting maybe to see where you pack peonies or where you
Great,
store them.
sure. We'll head over there right now. My husband built this wonderful flower shop over here, and this is really awesome the way he did it because other farmers were experiencing with getting up to 90 degrees in Alaska last year,
Oh, it's crazy.
experiencing the heat from the roof of their chillers changing the temperature of their chiller inside. So a lot of them are building roofs over the top of their chiller to keep the heat away from the surface.
Wow.
So, yes.
Yeah, I guess in the South we think about things like that, but yeah, we don't realize how big of a difference that makes.
Oh, do we still have you?
Yep, you're here.
Come over just in case it's a footage. Okay, we're just plugging into a charger. Just a moment. Okay. So this is my trailer that's inside my flower shop. Okay. So we'll just enter the first room that we're going to enter. We're going to film from just outside my chiller because I believe we will lose connection once we go inside.
I
Okay.
understand.
So I'm going to hand Martha the phone. And this is my pre-chiller area. How much further it's going to lose it. This is our pre-chiller area.
Yeah.
We take our field
And
heat
so then that's actually the
out of the
okay.
flowers in
I
this room.
see.
They will stage here for several hours before they go back to the main chiller. There are many flowers in here yet, so my back chiller is not gone yet.
Sure.
Hope we don't lose you
Makes
going
sense.
in here.
Is that a
Most of
cool
our
bot?
farms run the same system as a lot of other flower farms and the cool bots. They have one in the
Sure.
two in the main.
That
It is.
one
Yeah.
gadget revolutionized chilling for so many flower farmers. Yeah. Wish I had invented that little gadget. What a nice area.
Yeah. And she's got a big
That's
shop here.
awesome.
Yes. When we come to Deborah Champion's. Well, oh, is a plumber, so they've got the most incredible irrigation as well.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to
That
show you
explains some of that.
where our water source comes from. We fill up these 300-gallon tanks, and we have 6 of them that feed through a high-power water pump into our irrigation system. So this is how
Amazing.
we store our water, and it's best to try and have temperatures into 70 degrees of your water prior to watering your plants. That's a little hard for me when I have this type of volume and I refill it every day to water my flowers. So yes, and then we
Wow.
have the large pump that's over here to the, and this is my pump that will pump the system. And my advice to any farmers that are people interested in starting this business, I would say when you're in your watering system, double it. Because just double it. Yes.
Is
Because
that just because that way you've built in for growth, or because it's always you always need more than you think you do?
both. That both.
I love
Yes.
that. Oh wow. So is I'm assuming you're on well water?
Yes. Yes. We just improved our well to 16 gallons a minute. We used to only get 8 gallons a minute, which it would take 5.5 hours to fill up those tanks. Now it only takes
Wow.
me half the time. So that's very nice.
So do you fill up those tanks just to add to your pressure, or to keep up with the volume of water all at once going out?
I fill up those tanks to in lieu that if the temperature of the water may change a couple degrees before the water hits my plants. In Alaska, we have very cold water that comes out of our well. So
I
that
see.
cold water, can shock your plants, just like your
Sure.
house plants. If you take ice water and put it on a house plant, you're going to see it affected.
Absolutely. And I'm sure, and if it's too, and in addition to that, it would probably slow some things down that you maybe don't want to slow down if it's really cool. Um,
Yeah, true.
wow, that's really fascinating. That's really cool. Yeah. Yes. If you're in the South, you might want to triple it. You're right about that.
Mm-hmm.
So, with all of our temperatures, that's crazy. It's so beautiful. It's so incredible, your place. And I can see why. I think I would even have plumbing envy, Martha. I mean, I think that could be a real thing here too.
Sure.
So we just got the question: Who mow? Oh, you might know this person. Who mows your lawn?
Well, that's my husband. Yeah. Well,
Is
we
that our
designed.
champion? Is that our champion 20? I see that. He does a great job, I gotta say.
Thank you. Our
Oh,
champion 20 would be my son. He's our partner in the business. Yes. And my
awesome.
husband, Mark, he mows. We designed this for a zero turn to go down the rows. So didn't have to walk it all the time for a zero turn. Yes.
Sure. No, and how efficient that is too. Your son says hi, mom, and so I love that. That's great. So, how do you just have one son, or do you have other kids?
I have 2 boys.
Yeah.
Yes, Robert and Jeffrey.
Do they both?
30.
I'm sorry.
They're in their 30s.
Are they really? So
Yes.
do they live nearby? They still stay at home? What do they help much on the farm?
Yes, they do. My youngest son, he rents our guest house from us, so he is here all the time. Journeyman plumber, following steps of his father. And my
Amazing.
other son is a CEO for a major company and is active in the farm.
That's
Yes.
great. That's great. That's, I know this is that time of year when it's all hands on deck, and that's great that everyone can join in. Um, Martha, are you nearby?
I am.
So, is there anything that I haven't asked I should ask, or is there anything you want to add?
Oh, goodness. This was a very interview, nice and technical. I like that we got some bits and pieces out there for the other flower farm. In case anybody wants to know any of these tips and tricks, we did publish a couple of really cool free educational resources. Those are on our website. So if you want to know more about planting location, fertilization, irrigation, just visit our website, alaskapeonycooperative.com, the press and resources page. There's a couple of great educational guides there for you.
Yeah, and also you have a guide for sourcing roots too, right?
Yeah, we have gotten a lot of calls of people that want to plant a peony up to, a field of peonies,
Sure.
and we don't actually sell any roots, and so we made the preferred root provider guide. So we went through a few different root providers criteria, ranging from customer service, minimum order quantities, when they ship, the varieties they have, and we just asked a few folks if they would mind if we put together a guide to reference when people asked about where should I buy roots from.
Yeah, I mean, I know because I don't know who I was talking to the other day, and they were talking about this is the time to start planning that for next year, and so buying that material and stuff. So that's another good resource. So
Yeah.
exciting things. Well, really excited. I want to say thank you again because on Monday, both of the Alaska Peony Cooperative extended the discount to our viewers and listeners. If you use the Flower Podcast, I think it's just the Flower Podcast is the promo code, and you get
Yep.
20% off your flower order. So, and the thing that I thought was even more amazing than the discount is it's not just for one box; it's for the whole season. So if you've got a wedding or an event and you need peonies, make sure you go to their website and shop and use that code because you can use it for your wedding that you're working on, or a gift for someone you love, or for yourself if you want to spoil yourself. So all these things are great ways and times to source peonies from the Alaska Peony Cooperative. So thank you, Martha, for that.
Yes.
And thank you, Deborah, for showing us your beautiful farm. I would have a hard time staying focused with the mountains in the background, and I mean it's just such a beautiful place. And I know when you're producing, I should ask you this question, Deborah. So when you produce hay, how much hay do you produce off the rest of the land?
Well, it averages about 1,700 to 2,000 bales, and it's
Wow.
only about 27 acres that we farm.
Wow. Wow. It's so amazing. I mean, I know that's something that's probably needed up there a lot in demand is good hay. So that's awesome. Thank you guys so much for this time. I'm so excited to see the peonies that are coming out in the pipeline and it's just great. So y'all have a good day and thank everybody for tuning in and for following us and watching us. And thank you again, Alaska.
Yeah.
It's good
Thanks,
farming.
Scott. Bye bye.
Bye bye.